All right, welcome to a special finance edition of Book Talk. Today, we're going to have what you might call a book fight. It's a real clash over the very soul of what a startup is supposed to do. In one corner, you've got this old, busted playbook, the one that's tanked countless companies. And in the other, a totally new way of thinking, a manifesto that basically says, hey, that brilliant plan you've got, yeah, it's almost certainly wrong. So let's break down this battle for the real startup playbook.
Okay, so let's just get right to the big, kind of brutal question. Why do so many startups fail? I mean, we've all seen the headlines, right? They have these incredible ideas, millions of dollars in funding, teams full of rock stars, and then poof, they're just gone. Even the companies with all the money in the world can just go down in flames. So what is going on here?
Well, according to this new school of thought, the answer is surprisingly simple. They're all following a flawed playbook. You know, this rule book they inherited from the 20th century that's designed for executing a business model you already know works. But that's not what a startup does. The classic cautionary tale here is Webvan. These guys had nearly $1 billion in funding, executed their plan perfectly, and still went spectacularly bankrupt. The plan itself was the problem from day one.
So let's really dig into this old, flawed playbook. What we're talking about is this 20th century model of pure execution. It's that whole get big fast mantra, right? The one that's built on this massive assumption that you have all the answers from the very beginning and your only job is to build the thing.
Okay, look at this. The old model looks so clean, doesn't it? It's this perfect straight line. You start with a concept, you go into development, you do a little testing to iron out the bugs, and then big launch. It's so tidy, so predictable. But here's the thing. It's built on one giant, absolutely fatal assumption. that customers are just out there, sitting around, waiting to throw money at whatever it is you've built. And the way this was usually managed is with something called the waterfall model. You can see how each step just cascades down into the next one. Requirements, then design, then implementation. It's all locked in stone from the very beginning. The entire company becomes laser-focused on one single thing, hitting that launch date. There is zero room for learning, no room for making mistakes, and absolutely no room for finding out your entire idea about your customer was completely, totally wrong. So what you end up with is this huge clash of mindsets. It's really a tale of two different worlds. The old way is all about execution. The assumption is we know our customers. Progress is measured against that static business plan. And if an executive fails to hit the numbers on that plan, they're fired. But the new way, it's all about search. It starts by assuming your customers are a complete mystery. Your job is to test hypotheses to find a business model. And failure isn't a fireable offense. It's embraced. It's how you learn. It's a completely different game. And this is the core idea of the new manifesto, right here. The number one job of a startup isn't to execute some plan somebody wrote in a conference room. No, it's to search for a business model that's repeatable and scalable. And this is key. A startup is not just a little version of a big company. Think of it as a totally different kind of creature, one that's built from the ground up for one thing, learning and discovery. Now, let's actually see what this looks like. The whole life of a new venture gets split into two totally different phases. Over here on the left, you've got the search phase. And look at it. It's messy, right? It's chaotic. It's led by the founders themselves, who are out there asking questions. But then, once you find the model, you earn the right to move over to the right side, execution. That's when you build your sales department, your marketing team, all that traditional stuff. The key is you don't scale the chaos. You scale the proven model. So, this whole search process has a name. It's called customer development, and it's broken down into 4 pretty clear steps. Step 1 is customer discovery. That just means getting out of your office and learning what problems people actually have. Step 2 is customer validation. This is where you test if your thing, your solution, really solves that problem, and if you can build a repeatable sales process around it. Now, those first 2 steps, that's the search. Only after you've nailed those do you get to move on to creating customers and building the company. See the pattern? It's all about learning before you go big.
And if there's one phrase to remember from this entire playbook, it's this: get out of the building. Seriously, that business plan you spent months writing, it's really just a stack of guesses, a bunch of untested hypotheses. The only way you turn those guesses into actual facts is by getting in front of real, breathing potential customers and watching what they do. And here's what happens when you get out there. You realize pretty quick that the customer isn't just one single person. Nope, it's this whole ecosystem of people.
You've got your recommenders. Think of a popular blogger whose opinion could make or break you. Then there's the economic buyer, the person who actually controls the money. You've got the decision maker who gives the final yes or no. You've even got saboteurs, people who might try to torpedo the whole deal. You've got to figure out who all these people are. So how you actually use all this information? This is where it gets really cool. You map out a day in the life of your customer, and suddenly your strategy isn't guesswork anymore. For example, you find out they only spend like 15 minutes on social media all day. Well, guess what? You can probably forget about that big expensive Facebook campaign. But maybe you find out they read a bunch of cooking magazines. Bingo! That tells you exactly where to focus your PR efforts. This is what it looks like when real data drives your decisions, not just a hunch. Okay, so let's say you do it. You get out of the building, you talk to a bunch of people, and you have that sinking feeling. You realize your brilliant idea isn't so brilliant after all. It's wrong. So what do? Panic? Give up? Nope. This is where you learn the art of the pivot. This quote right here comes from an amazing, true startup story. You've got the founders of a company called Epiphany, and they're in a meeting that could literally make or break their entire company. They're talking to their absolute dream client. And the client says, yeah, we'll buy it, but only if it has this one feature, a feature they hadn't even thought of. So one founder pulls the other aside and whispers, show them page 6 of our product spec. And his partner is totally confused, saying, what are you talking about? Our spec only has 5 pages. The first founder just smiles and says, not anymore. I mean, how great is that? They changed their product right there in the meeting based on what the customer wanted. It saved the company. That is a pivot in action. And this is so important to understand. A pivot isn't just, changing the color of a button or tweaking a feature. It's a substantive change. It's a structured, deliberate course correction. You're changing a fundamental piece of your business model. Maybe it's your entire customer segment or your pricing model or how you get the product to people. It's not a wild guess. It's a strategic move based on what you just learned out in the real world. So why does this all matter so much? Why is this search first, then execute model such a game changer? It's simple, really. It's all about learning before you scale. It's about taking the risk out of your business piece by piece before you go and burn millions of dollars building and marketing something that it turns out nobody actually wants. And the numbers back this up big time. Just look at the raw economics of it. It can cost 5 to 10 times more to get a new customer than it does to just keep one you already have. Now think about that. If you blow all your cash trying to get customers for a broken business model, you're just setting your money on fire. You're going to burn through it and your company will die. This whole process is designed to make sure you have a business model that's actually worth scaling before you step on the gas and start spending the big bucks. And this leads to a final, really critical piece of wisdom. Every great entrepreneur is passionate. You have to be. But passion has an evil twin, and its name is hubris. That's what happens when your passion stops you from listening to the facts, from listening to what the market is actually telling you. You have to fall in love with your customer's problem, not with your first brilliant solution. You have to be willing to be wrong over and over again so that you can ultimately be right. So I want to leave you with a question to chew on. It doesn't matter if you're building the next billion-dollar unicorn or just tinkering with a side project. Ask yourself this. What is the single biggest, most terrifying assumption I am making about my customer right now? And then, the really important part, what are you going to do to get out of the building and test that assumption this week?